This is Radio TV Phono Nut, and here's a Sears Silvertone Voyager 500 AM portable tube radio that runs off of AC or batteries. Something I recently picked up. I actually got it off of eBay after years of searching for one to replace one I had as a kid when I was about 12 years old and first getting started in this hobby. You know, back then, we knew a lot of older people, and my parents told them that about my new hobby that later they probably wished they had kept their mouth shut about because of all the stuff that came my way. But at any rate, we were at a older lady's house that my mother knew one night, and the subject came up, and she said, "Let's go down in the basement. I think I've got some old radios down there." She had one of these, a mid-60s Zenith AM tube set, one of the nicer ones with the 6x9 speaker and tuned RF stage. And she had a little wooden Philco from about 33 or 34. She didn't want to part with the Philco because it belonged to her late husband's parents, and I never saw that one. She passed away not long after that, and who knows what happened to it. It probably either went to the trash or was sold for $5 at a yard sale. Remember, this was the late 80s, early 90s, before eBay and everything being worth a fortune. But anyway, I fixed both of the radios she gave me, and as often happens with stuff, it disappears over the years. Well, I've searched and searched and searched and never could find an exact portable like the one she gave me, and then a few months ago, or maybe a year ago, I found a similar one that we did a repair video on, a turquoise one with plastic horizontal bars, and then a few months after that I found this one that's the exact same set, or one just like it anyway. Let's plug it in and see what happens, see what I'm going to have to do to it. I'm sure we're going to have to do something to it. Okay, it appears to be stone cold dead, so let's get it apart and see what we got to do. I remember the turquoise one had an open flex ohm resistor in the filament line, so that could very well be what's wrong with this one, but actually there's many things that can cause a dead set. Let's see if we can find out what's causing this one to be dead. Here's the chassis, typical 4-tube chassis. And our speaker and output transformer and selenium rectifier. That flex ohm resistor there is the surge current limiting resistor for the selenium rectifier. The speaker is date coded the 29th week of 58, and the model number starts with 9, so that probably indicates this is a radio made for the 59 model year. Alright, let's get the voltmeter out and see what we got. Well, may not be as much to do as I thought. Plugged in the cheater cord for testing, and you hear the result. Texas won. They're trying to match this Southern Miss team, and there you see it. It's a big essentially comes right back in his first place. This is quite the package here because the Emerson knife average retails around anywhere 800, 8. Alright, let's see if this original power cord has continuity. Alright, that side does. Now let's see about this side. And it does, so why was the radio not playing there? Alright, now we're plugged back into the cheater cord, and I'm not getting anything. So now it may be time to break out the meter again and do some voltage checks. Alright, let's see what we have coming off of the selenium rectifier. 159 volts. So that's on the high side. that tells me that something is going on with the chassis here and not properly loading down the power supply. So let's get the chassis out, and maybe we can find out what the trouble is. And as further proof that the chassis is not providing a load is with it de-energized, I'm still getting the B plus is still, or should I say the charge is slowly dissipating off of the filter capacitor. If this chassis were placing the proper load on the power supply, our filter capacitor would discharge rather quickly when we switch the set off. I've got the board out, and one thing I'm noticing that's odd, it looks like this has been sprayed with something. As you can tell, especially in this area here, looks like it's got some kind of brown stuff on it. I don't know whether that was some kind of anti-moisture something that they sprayed on it or what, but the turquoise one that I fixed and the one I had 30 years ago, I don't recall having that, so I don't know. But at any rate, let's try to find out where things are going haywire. Alright, looking at the filter capacitor, got 159 on section 1, 159 on section 2, and nothing on section 3, which is probably the filament supply. Alright, I might have just found something here. I'll put my meter probe on this connection here. Hang on. Try to get this a little more in focus. Got 158 volts. Now let me move down to here and see what we got. I've only got something like it's bouncing around between. Well, you see what it's doing. It's bouncing all over the place. Now we got 140 something. What do we got over here? Okay, we have 158 there, so that trace is good. We got 158 there, so that trace is good. Alright, I'm working on this with it unplugged and using the charge on the filter capacitor. That's one side of the flex ohm. Got 130 volts. Come on, get on there. This crap they got sprayed on here is making it very hard to get a good meter connection. And there we have high voltage on the other side. So that tells me the flex ohm is likely not burned open. Alright, I found something that's not soldered well. You can see it's loose, and it comes back around here to this switch, which connects to the, looks like the filament line for the, off of the power supply capacitor. Alright, let's solder that back and see if it, well, that did it, which we found by just good old tracing the circuit. And we come around to that connection and saw it was loose and resoldered it, and bingo, it's working.
Thoughts? You might want to take a look at the CNN.
Alright, here we are back together and working. I still had a few little intermittent things happening, so I just went over the whole board and resoldered everything. I also replaced these two paper capacitors, this plastic case Goodall thing. They're bad about leaking. And in this job right here, I can't really say that it made much difference in the performance, but they're replaced now. The electrolytic I left alone, the selenium rectifier I left alone, the B plus voltage is about what it should be, and this is not something that I'm going to be using all the time, so we left it alone for now.
Master's degree offered on campus, and work toward advancing your...
A 22 plays during the regular season. This time for 6 most among pitchers in the majors this year.
recent video, somebody made a comment about the radio in question in that video. I think it was the Detroit-built Silvertone portable, but they commented how distorted it sounded. Well, it's not the radio, it's the crappy radio stations in my area, especially 1290 and 1390. There's 1390, and it's way louder than the other stations. In fact, it doesn't sound as bad on voice, but on music, you can tell the distortion. And on 1290, the volume is not nearly as loud as 1390, but the distortion's still there.
Plus, you get all these great TV features. Free HD DVR upgrade. Free.
Coast to Coast AM sure sounds great in the middle of the night, but you don't have to be nocturnal to enjoy this amazing show. The Coast Insider is your key to a...
Thank you all safe. That time, 4 plays 7.
The lower end is not that sensitive, but it seems like out here in the shop, for some reason, the lower end just doesn't come in that well.
It's a must-have feature for all Coast to Coast AM. Visit coasttocoastam.com to... You'll sleep.
2 stations running the same thing.
Favorite guests or topics ever again. Remember, a 1-year subscription comes out to only 15 cents a day. Sign up today at coasttocoastam.com.
Looking for the truth? On Coast to Coast AM.
And let me ask you a quick question. How do you determine from a very difficult because the
Are they running the same thing on 910 and 1010?
witness it in reality you don't even know exactly, and there's that fine line between
2 completely different stations in the area running the same program.
for entertainment and stuff like that.
Makes you wonder how they even stay on the air.
You're listening to Art Bell Somewhere in Time. Tonight featuring Coast to Coast AM 1996.
Not as much.
Don't know what that is at the upper end playing R&B, but
I'm right there again. His offense, plenty of protection. He's able to stand back there, survey the field, find his wide receiver Simpson running across.
used to AM radio stations, they were required to put out a top-notch signal. In fact, they used to have proof of performance tests that they had to pass. The FCC would be on their butt like white on rice, but apparently nobody cares anymore. These stations are just running on baling wire and duct tape. As long as they can get a signal out on the air, that's all they're worried about. And it's just pretty bad when somebody like me has all these nice old antique radios. Well, not technically antique, but old. And many of them are very well built and capable of quite good performance. But when you have radio stations that are putting out a crappy signal, the radio's not gonna perform very well. It's like they say, garbage in, garbage out. That must be WDIA out of Memphis.
Zona de la
They tested it there in the parking lot. It was...
Or maybe that's WDIA, I don't know. Well, that's enough to turn it off on and conclude this video. Alright, there's WSM coming in. I had to rotate the radio to get it to...
Military past and present. Please stand.
And that's about the only station that I can receive in my area at night or any other time on AM that's worth listening to. I especially like Wednesday when Eddie Stubbs plays all the really older stuff. It's nice to have a radio station that's actually has a live person there running the show and not a computer that's running the same 20 songs in automation. You have a live person who actually knows about the music they're playing, and they play a better variety. Meanwhile, you flip over to the classic country station that we have on FM, and they play pretty much the same common stuff from the 80s and newer with a few 70s things sprinkled in, and that's all you get. Alright, enough of that. But this thing works about as good as it was ever capable of working.
The Coast to Coast AM app is here, now available for Android, iPhone. For Coast Insiders, it offers the ability to download.
But I think 59 was about the last year for
the new app also has
for any kind of tube portable radio. Once transistors came along, that pretty much blew the tubes out of the water as far as portables, because with a transistor set, you don't have to have the high voltage B battery, and you can get a lot more battery life out of a transistor radio than you can a tube portable. Alright, that's it.